Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to this inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Amadi Graft Aikins, Professor of Psychology and Vice Dean of the School of Graduate Studies. Today, Professor Amadi Graft Aikins will be speaking on the topic, Curing Our Ills, the Psychology of Chronic Disease Risk, Experience and Care in Africa. It's my privilege this afternoon or this evening to call the Registrar of the University of Ghana, Mrs. Mercy Hazel Eshia, to give us some introductory remarks.
Thank you, Pascaline. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our invited guests. It's indeed my pleasure to welcome you all to the Great Hall on behalf of the management of the University of Ghana. We have gathered here today to listen to this evening's inaugural lecture to be delivered by Professor Amadi Graft Aikins, Professor of Psychology in the Regional Institute for Population Studies, which is a constituent unit of the College of Humanities. As we may all know, an inaugural lecture gives the lecturer an opportunity to share with members of the university and the general public what they have achieved in their research career so far, and also to update us on current and future research directions. Therefore, this ceremony is an official recognition of Professor de Graft Aikins' promotion to the rank of professor. This ceremony also brings recognition to the Regional Institute for Population Studies, the College of Humanities, and indeed the University of Ghana for producing yet another professor. Last Monday, the Vice-Chancellor opened an exhibition of Professor de Graft Aikins' scholarly works at the Baum Library. This is one of the new traditions that was started in 2010. This semester has been quite exciting on our academic lecture calendar. We had numerous opportunities for the university to recognize and showcase the academic achievements of its academic staff. I note that Professor de Graft Aikins is the only woman in the lineup of inaugural lectures for this semester, and she has made us all proud. These lectures have helped to create a wider awareness of the latest developments in the academic disciplines of the university. It is my hope that as many as are able will join us for the last inaugural lecture in the series when the date is announced. Inaugural lectures in the University of Ghana are chaired by the Vice-Chancellor. It is now my honor to invite Professor Ernest Aite, Vice-Chancellor, to introduce Professor de Graft Aikins and continue with the program. Prof.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar. Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Provosts, Deans, former Vice-Chancellors, members of convocation, directors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm also very happy to welcome you to today's inaugural lecture. I woke up this morning thinking, today is the last day of June. In another month, last day of July, I'll be out of here. And I'm looking forward to this evening's lecture and one more, and then I'm out of here. So if you have any concerns about listening to this man for too long, don't worry, I have only one more to go. We've assembled here to listen to Professor Amadi Graft Aikins. who is clearly, by any standard, one of our most distinguished young professors in this university. Regardless of what standard you apply, you will find her satisfying that. So I'm extremely pleased this occasion to be introducing her. Professor Amma de Graft Aikins was born in London to Seth Kwabena Basie de Graft Aikins and Eleanor Nanasa de Graft Aikins. She had her primary education at Morning Star School, Accra, and her secondary education at Wesley Girls High School, Cape Coast. I was hoping I would see Achimota School. She completed her sixth form at South Thames College, Putney, London, where she took A-levels in physics, chemistry, and biology. She proceeded to study pharmacology at the University of Manchester. During her undergraduate degree, she became increasingly interested in applied pharmacology and health behavior and decided to switch paths to psychology. After graduation in 1994, she took the required foundation psychology course at the Open University and then enrolled on the British Psychological Society accredited conversion MSc in Psychological Studies at Manchester Metropolitan University. Her thesis focused on psychiatric experiences of multi-ethnic groups in Manchester. She was supervised by Professor Erica Berman. Amma de Graft Aikins wanted to progress to a PhD in clinical psychology. In the UK, this required practical, clinical, or counseling experience. She therefore spent the MSc period as a trained volunteer counselor for Childline and the Manchester Rape Crisis Center. After the MSc between 1997 and 1999, she worked as a research intern at the Center for Tropical Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics, University of Ghana, under the mentorship of Professor David Oforiagyei, and at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital under the mentorship of Professor Angela Oforiatta. She also worked on health policy projects for the late Dr. Sama J., then the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Health Service. A number of important insights about Ghanaian healthcare emerged during this pivotal 2-year research experience, including the rising level of chronic non-communicable diseases, NCDs, like hypertension and diabetes, the multi-level challenges facing healthcare in Ghana, the limitations of a clinical approach to structural problems, and the importance of prevention and community-based interventions. These insights informed a second switch in research interest and focus from clinical to social psychology. Amma de Graft Aikins embarked on a PhD in social psychology at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, under the supervision of Professor Kathy Campbell and Dr. Andy Wells. Her thesis focused on diabetes representations and experiences and involved field-based research in Accra, Kintampo, and in Nkoranza. She received her PhD in 2005. Amma de Graft Aikins won an Economic and Social Research Council postdoctoral fellowship based at the University of Cambridge between 2005 and 2006. Under the mentorship of the late Dr. Gerald Duveen, she spent the postdoctoral year disseminating her PhD results to her research communities, publishing, teaching, and preparing grant applications. She won one grant from the British Academy with Dr. Daniel Kojo Ahimfo as co-investigator. The grant, based at Cambridge between 2006 and 2010, established the UK Africa Academic Partnership on Chronic Disease, a partnership of multidisciplinary researchers based in Africa, Europe, and North America, working on NCDs in Africa. During this period, she retained a research associate and teaching position at Cambridge, taught part-time at the Regional Institute for Population Studies, RIPS, and spent a year as an LSE teaching fellow at her old Institute of Social Psychology. Amma de Graft Aikins applied for and joined University of Ghana on a full-time position as a senior lecturer. She was promoted to associate professor in October 2011 and to professor in February 2015. She is the first female professor of psychology at this university. Let me clarify, we have associate professors and then we have professors. Graft Aikins' research has focused primarily on experiences and representations of chronic physical and mental illnesses and of Africa's NCD burden. With a biological and social science background, her work is informed by interdisciplinarity. She has actively sought mentorship and collaboration from academics in the medical, health, and social sciences. Her main collaborators include Professor Francis Dodu, Professor Kojo Koram, and Dr. Berima Afrani, Professor Charles Ajiman, Professor Benga Gedegbe, Dr. Juliet Addo, and Professor Ernestina Coast. Her current projects include diabetes and obesity among Ghanaians in Ghana and Europe, food beliefs and practices among Ghanaians in Ghana and the US, and community-based cardiovascular disease and mental health interventions in Ghana. These projects have received funding from various funders, including the European Union, Grand Challenges Canada, and New York University. Her research has produced over 70 peer-reviewed scholarly publications, including 10 edited volumes. Of these, 53 are sole, led, and senior authored. She has presented her research at over 100 conferences, high-level meetings, and university seminars in 18 countries. Her NCD research, and in particular the outputs of the UK-Africa Academic Partnership on Chronic Disease, has also attracted international attention, including from The Economist, the UK Guardian, and the NCD Alliance. She has contributed to the development of national and global NCD policy through work with the GHS and WHO. Graft Aikins is passionate about teaching and mentoring. Currently at the University of Ghana, she teaches graduate courses in psychology and qualitative research methods and coordinates the philosophy of the social sciences PhD course for the College of Humanities. She has supervised to successful completion 7 undergraduate dissertations in psychology and pharmacy at Cambridge and the University of Ghana, and 38 master's theses in social psychology, social policy, public health, and population studies at the University of Ghana, LSE, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, New York University, and the University of Sussex. She has trained 2 population studies PhD students, has a current cohort of 5 PhD students at RIPS who are near completion, and co-supervises 2 public health PhD students at the University of Amsterdam and the Australian Catholic University. In her work, Graft Aikins has aimed to achieve 3 objectives. First, to conduct meaningful psychological and health science research that benefits Ghanaian and African communities. Second, to conduct interdisciplinary research through equitable and sustainable partnerships. Third, to participate in the drive to train early career researchers working at the interface of health and development in Africa. Graft Aikins is married to Yao Ewekubu. They both enjoy music, dance, heated arguments about politics, and freshly brewed coffee. She is an avid reader and loves film. Amma is fascinated by art and art history. She has written about Ghanaian art and artists and collects art from emerging artists. For now, until she can afford the expensive Ghanaian classic. She's also an amateur gardener with a growing fern collection. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, let me welcome to the podium Professor Graft Aikins. She will be speaking to us on the topic, Curing Our Ills, the psychology of chronic disease risk, experience, and care in Africa. Amma.
Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellors, Madam Registrar, Provosts, Deans, Directors, former Vice-Chancellors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful for the opportunity to deliver my inaugural lecture this evening. In this great hall, I'm sure some of us have heard about or know someone with diabetes or hypertension. A second set of us is caring for a loved one with either condition, and a third set of us lives with either condition or both. Within the first two sets, at least 50% of us aged 30 and above are likely to have high blood pressure or impaired glucose tolerance and not know it. Hypertension, diabetes, and other chronic diseases like stroke and cancers have become major causes of disability and premature death for millions of Ghanaians and Africans. In 2005, the World Health Organization, WHO, observed that prevalence rates of chronic non-communicable diseases, NCDs for short, were highest in Africa, and predicted that Africa would have the fastest rate of prevalence, morbidity, and mortality in the coming decades. This prediction has come true. Today, NCDs kill more African adults than adults in any other part of the world. Chronic conditions are lifelong and incurable. They require long-term treatment and management, which can be expensive, and they often lead to complex complications and additional conditions which undermine the quality of life of affected individuals and their families. The WHO, along with other global health organizations, rightly emphasize that we need to address this public health challenge urgently because of its impact on individuals, families, communities, health systems, and governments. In this lecture, Mr. Chair, I'll discuss the psychology of chronic disease risk, experience, and care in Africa. Oops. Mr. Chair, my lecture outline is as follows. In a brief part one, I'll describe the kind of psychology I do to set the context for the lecture. In part two, I'll focus on the second half of my lecture. I'll talk about the psychology of risk, the psychology of experience, and the psychology of care. I'll focus on diabetes, and I'll show why diabetes is a theoretically significant condition for this discussion. I'll also draw attention to why we need a critical psychological analysis of these themes. In part three, I'll synthesize the evidence by returning to the first half of my title, Curing Our Ills. I treat ills in terms of the physical as well as the ideological. I conceptualize ideological ills as the ways health experts, researchers, practitioners, policymakers, funders, and development partners define our problems and develop solutions to our problems, thereby setting the broader structural framework in which we manage our daily lives in health, in illness, and increasingly in dying. I argue that the physical and ideological ills are interconnected, and as a result, must be addressed through interdisciplinary approaches. To conclude, I will offer practical solutions for reducing chronic disease risk and improving the quality of long-term experience and care. For all these stages, Mr. Chair, I will refer to a synthesized body of knowledge, body of psychological, health, and social science knowledge generated on these themes. This will include my independent and collaborative work carried out over the last 16 years on diabetes experiences in Ghana and among Ghanaian migrants in Europe, mental health in Ghana, health systems responses to the NCD burden in Ghana and Africa, and the role of psychology in addressing health and social problems affecting African communities. My work has involved interviewing, having situated conversations, and observing over 1,000 Ghanaians across the country, in all regions but Western region, and Ghanaians living in 3 European countries, UK, Netherlands, and Germany. My main collaborators have been Professor Francis Dodu, Professor Kujo Kram, and Dr. Berima Afrani at Legon, Professor Charles Ajiman at the University of Amsterdam, Professor Bengo Ogedebe at New York University, Dr. Juliet Addo at London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and Professor Ennis Coast at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE. This body of work has also formed the basis for PhD training at my institute, the Regional Institute for Population Studies. I have 5 PhD students working on various aspects of population health and NCDs, with whom I've discussed and developed new directions in research, and who also, I must say, helped me with last-minute data collection and analysis for this lecture, and I must acknowledge them. They are Toby Shanwade, Sandra Boatima, Raphael Bafuewa, Maoli Kushito, and Ernest Efrifanane. Over the last 10 years, my understanding of chronic illness experience in Ghana for sufferers and caregivers